different tools. This is for details, this is for medium surface, and this is for larger surface. So first of all, let's see how to smooth the surface and to make it perfect. And the side with rake is very useful for this task. The idea is to cross the stroke so as not to leave the furrows. I keep my hand very light, so I'm not removing very large quantity of clay, I'm just smoothing it. The smallest tools are similar, but the rake is smaller. And this is the smallest one, and it's really similar. And now I'm using a sandpaper, really thin sandpaper, to smooth completely the surface. And the finest the sandpaper is, the smoother is the surface. So try to find a really thin one so you have a more perfect work. Try to keep your hand light. Don't put pressure on it. So now I have a perfect surface. I can touch it and see it. I can have a case when I cannot use sandpaper because my surface is not big enough. For example, if I need to smooth near to the eyes or the nose. And of course, in this case, I use another method. For example, I can use my fingers, or if I need to go inside the hole here, and here I can use a small brush and a small amount of thinner. So here I have the thinner, put into the glass, and the thinner is smoothing the surface, so it allows me to take away small details such as digital prints and so on. The finer the brush is, and the better the surface can come out. It's also important not to pressure, but just to stay light on the surface, and I can also use my fingers. And for example, with this fine brush, I can almost reach for perfection. So let's now see how to texture the surface when I don't need it to be smooth. Each of the tools I present in this section, the material section, have a special shape, so I can use it to make a different kind of texture. Each sculpture tool has a specific shape, so it allows me to do a specific texture. For example, here I have a kind of spoon shape, and depending on how I use the tool and I move my hand, I can have different results. And for example, this other side that is like pointy, it allows me to do this kind of textures. And you can use your fantasy and different tools to reach different kind of results. Here you can see different examples. And in this case, we can smooth a little bit the surface with thinner, and we combine different textures. What thinner does is just smooth the surface And for example, if I use thinner over the work I already done, I can change it. And for example, where the use of the tool was giving a sharpened texture, the use of thinner helps to smooth the surface. And I can alternate the two different techniques, and I can let the thinner dry a little bit and then go on with the tools. And then go back to the thinner. So the combination of the two techniques gives me a particular surface, a particular result. Let's see another example, another exercise. I want to show you the use of another tool. And this is a technique I learned working in special effects for movies, and it helps to reproduce the skin, the texture of the skin as wrinkles or fine lines and so on. So let's prepare a surface, a new surface. So for example, let's say I want to do the, the wrinkles of the forehead. I will start with the general volume of the wrinkles. So I will make some spaghettis with clay and attach one to the other. And with a sharp tool, I blend one spaghetti into another. So what I want to do is blend the spaghettis one into another so you cannot see differences. And then I use this other tool to blend and to smooth the curves. I want to make the wrinkle looks natural. And then I use thinner to smooth the surface. So I work like that to make it look more natural. And there is a trick that is the use of thin plastic bags. Here I have a little piece, and it helps to smooth the surface and to make look natural. And the effect is a little bit different from the thinner one, but it's similar. And for example, if I use this metal tip, I can see the difference between when I use the plastic bag and when I don't. So I can see when I don't use the plastic bag and I cut with the metal tool, the clay opens. And when I put the bag helps to contain the plasticine. So the effect is really different. The effects also depends on how thick is the bag and how thick is the metal tip. So you need to do some tests to see what is working for you from time to time. And for example, I can decide to add more texture to the work I've already done with the wrinkles and use a plastic bag. I first use a brush to help the bag to adhere to the surface of the clay. And then I use the metal tip to add details to the original texture. I want my hand to be very light to add really, really fine details, the smallest one. And then I can change the size of the tip and use this is smallest. This helps to give a very natural skin texture, like fine lines. And it can be like animal skin if it's heavier, or human skin if I do light, very light marks and texture. It helps a lot if you cross the lines, the fine lines, and you use your metal tool in different direction, because the skin seems more natural this way. And if we remove the plastic, we can see the final effects. And if we want, we can put the bag on again and add some fine details again, and so on. For example, if we want the wrinkle to look deeper, and I can add details with the tool or thinner again until I'm satisfied.